Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. From Evanston, Illinois, we welcome for their first appearance on our True Story Adventure series, Mr. and Mrs. Willis Butler. Mrs. Butler was raised in Ethiopia, the daughter of an American missionary, and with her husband returned there recently after an absence of 17 years. And here, in the still primitive and rugged land, she relived the memories of her childhood, of the fierce desert tribesmen, the trappings of Ethiopian royalty, and swift herds of wild game seldom seen even by the white hunters of Africa. For the next 30 minutes, we share the adventurous journey of Mr. and Mrs. Willis Butler on a return to Ethiopia.
Bold Journey, your television passport to the exciting, colorful world of adventure. Brought to you each week by the Ralston Purina Company of Checkerboard Square, St. Louis. Makers of Rice Chex, Wheat Chex, Rye Crisp, and Instant Ralston, the famous foods in the checkerboard packages. And here, speaking for Ralston, is that celebrated cereal salesman, Lee Goodman.
Attention! In attacking an ordinary bowl of cereal, the most important thing to remember is how to keep it from bogging down in sugar and milk. Now, this is a battle you never have with a grown-up cereal like Wheat Chex. No, sir. But with some cereals, a classic tactic is to pour the milk carefully down the side of the bowl instead of right on top. This attack is known as outflanking the flakes. Then we have the undercover assault, first used during the famous battle of the Bumbershoot. Finally, there's the underground technique. You just don't pour the milk into the bowl. You send it through a pipe inserted from below. Well, with Wheat Chex, you don't have any battle at all, because it's over the top every time, men. Wheat Chex are a grown-up cereal, you see, with a pronounced whole wheat flavor. They stay crisp and crunchy the whole bowl through. So if you want a cereal that doesn't meet its Waterloo in sugar and milk, march right down to your grocery store for a package of Wheat Chex, the grown-up cereal from Checkerboard Square.
And now, here to begin tonight's True Story adventure is Jack Douglas.
Despite its proud heritage of independence, its long history as a nation reaching back to the Bible, and even the primitive beauty of its countryside, the Kingdom of Ethiopia is the one region most often overlooked by the African traveler. One reason, perhaps, is that even today, outside its capital city, Ethiopia remains a tough, rough, even overpowering country, a nation of vast contrasts. In short, a place that one would choose for a visit only for very strong reasons. Well, Mrs. Willis Butler had such a reason, for virtually every memory she has of her childhood is tied to this land of the Lion of Judah. And so last summer, the Butlers journeyed to Africa's oldest independent nation. And here to tell the story of this adventure are Mr. and Mrs. Willis Butler of Evanston, Illinois. Hello, Mrs. Butler.
Hello, Jack.
How are you, sir?
Hello, Jack.
It's nice to see you. Mrs. Butler, how old were you when your parents took you to Ethiopia?
I was 2 years old, Jack, when my father gathered up his family and set sail for Ethiopia, where he was to be a medical missionary.
I see. Now, Mr. Butler, was this your first visit to Ethiopia?
Yes, as a matter of fact, it was, Jack, although, of course, I had heard a lot about Ethiopia for about 10 years from my wife.
Well, now, Mrs. Butler, was there some inner reason why you wanted to return to Ethiopia beyond perhaps the opportunity to relive some of your childhood memories?
Well, of course, Jack, I wanted to see the people and the places that I'd known when I was a child there, but I think more especially I wanted to show the country to Bill.
Surely. Just in case your husband begins using some Ethiopian terms during the course of the narration of the film that we're about to see, I wonder if you'd give us an idea of what the Ethiopian language is like, or perhaps the dialect that you learned.
Well, one of the main dialects is the Gala language, and I learned to speak it like a native. And I might say to you, Gari Bulteni, Atam Jirtu.
What does that mean?
Which means, how are you?
We're just fine. How are you? Thank you very much, Mrs. Butler. And now, Mr. Butler, is our journey by air or by sea?
We start by air deck from New York's Idlewild Airport. Air travel makes it so much more simple to get to Ethiopia today than it was when my father-in-law, 17 years ago, set out for Ethiopia. Today, it's just a matter of 2 days, and you're in Addis Ababa, 1,700 miles on the map of Africa, south from Cairo. Look at the mountainous terrain we cover as we hit Ethiopia from the north, which gives way finally to the fertile plateau country. And finally, here we are in the city of the New Flower, seeing it from the site that Emperor Menelik first looked down upon the valley, and he said, I'm going to call this the city of the New Flower, Addis Ababa, as we look at it from our hotel room. The downtown business district.
It certainly looks like a very modern city, doesn't it?
Yes, it is. This, of course, being the capital of the country. Many different languages, the Amharic language being the main language of Ethiopia. There are many picturesque ways in this modern city of getting around town. This is the horse-drawn gharry. And then they have a little motorized version of it. For short, they just call this the MG, the motorized gharry. A lot of the people from out in the country come into town in style. Burros carrying the produce down to the market. The burros doing this African can-can on the way into market. Animals are not the only bearers of goods. The people also carry very heavy loads. They think nothing of it. And this is what you see any day in the week on the way to Addis Ababa.
Everybody seems to be in a hurry in this country.
One American who had spent a good many years here said, this is the walkingest, talkingest country I've ever seen. We've come down now 200 miles to the east of Addis Ababa by air, where at 7 o'clock in the morning, as the animals return from their water hole, you can sometimes see them racing through the swamps. Antelope down there. Ethiopia has just as many animals as the other African countries to the south. 36 oryx trying desperately to get away from our airplane. One of the villages of the dreaded Danakils, one of the reasons why it's still unsafe to travel alone out here in the desert area.
That name was the Danakils?
The Danakils, Jack, one of the most primitive peoples on the earth today. Now, we've left that area and are flying over the old rock-hewn church community of Lalibela, tucked away in the mountains at 10,000 feet, with these 11 monolithic churches carved out of solid rock 850 years ago under old King Lalibela. Rather than breaking up the rock and reassembling it, they've just carved the rock as it stands and interconnecting these 11 churches by means of mysterious subterranean tunnels. It'd take about 8 days by mule caravan to get up here if it weren't for the airplane. Continuing on into the interior of Ethiopia, to Mizan Tafri, and up there on that hill is the home site of Charlie Hasbels, an American missionary. Charlie's on the way back from the airport. He's bringing in the Christmas mail. This is February, and the mail is right on schedule from the United States. They're really out here in the middle of nowhere.
Is he a doctor?
No, Charlie is a missionary administrator, you might say, but they do have a doctor here, and Charlie's responsible for the overall program. Lois, his wife, from New Galilee, Pennsylvania, has joined Charlie out here. This is where the doctor works, this little galvanized iron clinic. But it's really a wonderful thing for the people here. There is the doctor at the left, Campbell Miller.
Is he an American also?
No, he's a Scottish lad, as a matter of fact, working for the American mission. And these different patients have come in. Some of them have walked for 2 or 3 days to find the doctor.
Of course, kids all the world around, I think, have the same reaction to medicine.
That's
See
right.
that little one turn away?
They sure did. Well, Campbell has examined this woman, and an operation was found necessary, but she said, not until I get the consent of a witch doctor. The physician very wisely pointed out this fellow, who happened to be a witch doctor and happened to be a patient at the same time. He said, ask him. The witch doctor said, yes, the American has cut on me and has helped. If I were you, I'd let him cut on you. And so you have a witch doctor sanctioning modern medicine in Ethiopia today. Charlie has been very industrious with this channel he dug for 6 months. He has diverted some water from a little jungle stream. There's a 30-foot difference between it and the level of the jungle stream. So Charlie built his own little hydroelectric plant in this little shack where a turbine is operated.
The do-it-yourself program in Ethiopia, huh?
And he learned it all by